Hey, this is Dr. T, and I wanted to show you how to make some graphs, how to make them all gussied up. And so this is going to be interesting because by the time you're seeing this, you probably will have already seen the final product that I'm making. Okay, so for Write Like a Chemist 2, what I'm going to do is set up a couple of worksheets, kind of done in style of how folks have made their graphs, and then in class we'll talk about, or have talked about when you're actually listening to this, what the ups and downs of those particular styles. Okay, so first off, I've got the data from the assignment. I went and just typed it into Excel because I ain't plotting this stuff by hand. And what I want to do is make the worksheets that are, or not really worksheets, but the list sheets that give you different levels of how well this was done. So I'm going to start off with the real basic, the technically completed level. Okay, so I got my Excel. I'm just going to highlight this. I'll go insert. We basically always use scatter plots. Like this is the plot that we use as chemists. There are exceptions, but but yeah. Okay, so we've got this. I guess if we're just going for technical completion, yeah. Hey, that's a graph. So Control C that. Let's dump this over in the Word book. Let's call this level 1. I'll leave some space. Okay, so there's a graph. And yeah, graphs call for tables as well. So okay, we'll call that, level 1, which is, it's the assignment is technically completed. Not well, but technically completed. Okay, Word, what you doing there, buddy? Okay, so let's now make this thing not so awful. Okay, for starters, yikes, there's so much wrong with this. I'm going to go to Design, and then I'm going to, or is it Format? No, it's Design. Quick Layout. Yeah, let's just go for this one. Okay, this is going to be over here, mass and grams. This will be volume. There. Let's go for something like density. Of course, I always need some spell check, so, spell check. Okay, that looks a little bit cleaner, so yay. So let's move that into what we'll call that level 2. Let's make a nice chart, a little bit better than what we had before. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, well, 5 versus 11. So I'll go up here, insert. I want a table. I'm going to make it 5 over. Okay, I'm going to have to start and just widen it up some. That's 8, 9, 10, 10, 11. And now I'll copy my data in from here. And I think that'll work. Yeah. Okay. So that looks a little bit cleaner than we did beforehand. This is still not what I call great. Okay, let's insert page break. And let's call this level 3. Okay, when I hand these things to you, these almost certainly be in black and white. The school doesn't want us printing in color too much because it's a lot more expensive. That's actually really normal. And what you're going to notice is this is not going to be sort outable. This isn't going to make sense. So what I want to do is make sure these dots are legible in black and white. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click on one of the dot series, and I always get a little bit lost where I'm going to go. Okay, so I did format. Let's close this. Just make sure you saw where on earth I went. So I right-click, format data series, and then marker options, and then I'm going to change this bullet. I'm going to make sure they're all different. So, okay, this one's just going to be squares. The size looks okay, so that's good enough. This one, once again, I'm going to go the same exact spot. I know, a lot of little extra clicks to do something rather simple. Let's make that one diamonds. Then over there, over there, over there. Yeah, this does get more than a little tedious. And let's see, I've got diamonds, squares, what looks good? I'll do asterisks. Okay, so now that's actually going to show up in black and white. So you can now actually read this. So let's go ahead and transfer this back over. Okay, and I'm just going to copy this table up here, and I'm going to gussy it up for this one. For starters, you know, I got a ton of white space. This doesn't really need to be all this much white space. So let's get this a little bit more white space. I don't need that whole giant table. So let's clean up some of this white space. Actually, if you look in the assignment, there's some extra decimal points here. So actually what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back over here. I'm going to highlight this whole thing. Everything was to one place past decimal point. So I'm going to go format cells, number, one place past the decimal point. Boom. Okay, that looks more like what was in the assignment. It shouldn't do anything to the data. Okay, so I'm going to make sure the numbers look right. And you know what? I should have done that on the other ones, truth be told. So let's just do that on all of these. There we go. Okay. That looks a little bit cleaner. But you know what? I mean, what on earth are these things? And this is probably the time where I start needing to bring in some captions, at least on this one. So when we do captions, you basically always have to have this. So this will be table 1. Tables and figures are captioned separately. So this will be table 1. I'll call it mass and volume data for unknown. Of course, I wish I knew what these things were. Unknowns A, B, C, and D. Obviously, if I knew what on earth these unknown things were, you know, it would be a different story. I'd make this a little bit more descriptive. But yeah, that looks pretty good. I could stick some density information off here. Oh, that's totally a stylized thing. But that said, since I'm doing the graph, oh, you know what I forgot on this graph? I forgot those trend lines. Yeah, that would be important. So I'm going to go ahead and add some trend lines. So add trend line, and it's just going to be a linear, and yeah, okay. So let's just do that on all of these. Add trend line, linear, add trend line, linear, add trend line. And I believe I can actually do this in Word. The newer Word ones, they're not an image. In the old days, these were actually just an image. You couldn't do anything. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I can just add this in Word. A lot has changed in the last 10, 20 years with Excel. It took it from a powerful program to a really awesome program. Okay, and I'm just going to go back and retroactively do all of these. Linear is the one you're almost always going to use the most, but it's the default, which is good, so yay. You do have a couple other choices. As chemists, we usually don't use them. You know, get your exponential, logarithmic. Moving average is more kind of for the business folks. Keep in mind, Excel is made for the business folks to start with. We're kind of piggybacking in on this one. You know what? When it comes to these guys, yeah, we're doing okay. But these are still kind of cluttered. So let's kick this up a notch, make this a little bit better. So let's add a page break, and let's get back to Excel. I don't actually need to include this information here. So I'm going to go ahead, copy this over, and then I'm going to edit it over in Word. So what am I at? Level 3, so this is level 4. Okay, so I'm going to do figure captions with graphs, images, everything else is a figure. those get named below it, and they're called figures. They're numbered separately. So I'll have figure 1 and table 1. That's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay. Plot of what would be mass versus volume. Of unknown. I'm lazy. I'm just going to copy it there. D. Now, that means I don't need a title up here because, you know, that mass versus volume, that's density. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do unknown A. I'm going to go hit there. I'm going to go symbol, and I'm going to look for that square. This always takes a little bit of time. Oh, where am I looking at? Subject, Greek, context, like there, American, Hebrew, Arabic. Okay, so you'll have noticed a rather awkward jump cut, and my timer on the bottom window or the clock has changed a bit. Okay, let's put those symbols in. Okay, so I'm going to go A, and here's the part that I got a little bit, well, I just forgot. So I originally had it set up to normal text. Scroll down in your symbol. So you're clicking symbol, scroll down, 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 and get yourself the wingdings. This is usually where you're going to find it. Where's W? There we go. Okay, and basically I'm just going to match these guys. Wingdings has a bunch of just generic shapes. So, hey, here's a square. Insert. Okay, then after B, I'm going to do square. That's a circle. More symbols. Once again, scroll down. Wingdings probably has, there's a closed circle. Let's go insert. C, this was the one that gave me the most problems. No, C was fine. It's D that was giving me the most problems. Once again, scroll down. Oh, where was that? I just saw you. Okay, that's a diamond of some sort. Okay, close that. And then D, the little troublemaker. So I'm going to do more symbols. Okay, I'm not liking the ones on wingdings for that, so I'm going to go to wingdings 2. Oh, there it is. Insert. Close. Okay, so now I got the symbols in my figure caption, which is really where they belong. So that means that big mess can just go away. That gives me a lot more room for my chart. Also, when things that need to just go away, you notice those cross lines? I mean, really, why are they there? Those are there if you are plotting it out by hand, etc. Now, you notice I don't have trend lines on here. Trend lines would go in the text. In fact, if I wanted to, a nice spot for the trend line might actually be in that graph. So I'm going to go back to Excel. Let's see, I'll put that trend line back. That was part of the, where on earth do I find this stuff? Okay, I'll put that one back. Once again, I'm just going to get rid of that, get rid of this. I don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Okay. So in this case, let's see. I can click on the trend line. I can show equation on the chart. Format trend line. I can do R squared if I want. But generally, I'm not going to put this in my report as a trend line because it looks really cluttered really quick if I keep putting this for all the trend lines, as you're going to see here really quick. I'm not even going to do R squareds. The R squared is basically telling you how much of the trend does the trend line actually explain, which in this case, these are all pretty good. They're not spectacular. Ideally, you want like lots of 9s for your R squared, but you know, these are a pretty good number of 9s. Actually, what was that again? It's decent. You know, 3 9s is okay. More is better. Okay, so that's way too cluttered. So I'm not going to do that on my actual reporting, but I would like to actually report this because that slope is my density. So if I go back over here, well, let's put in the table. Okay, let's clean this mess up. So this is a bit of a messy table. So I'm going to go ahead, add another one here. I'm going to move. I'll leave that there. I'm going to call you A, B, C, D. I'm going to go ahead and delete you all. I'm going to go ahead and let's see, design, layout. I'm going to make that just one cell. I'm going to call this mass grams. By the way, let's just make this whole thing centered, not there. I'll go centered. Okay, this is looking nice. Still got all these lines. Let's clean this up. Design. I'm going to go for, really, I just want this custom. So I'm going to go borders, no borders. Then I'm going to put these two. I'll do borders. I'm going to go for bottom border here. I'll do a bottom border there. Okay. Not a big fan of that. I would like those interrupted a bit. So, I'm just going to get rid of that bottom border. And I'll get rid of that bottom border there. And put that there. And then this side, I will put a border. Not a huge fan of this one, but I think that this is pretty much a decent layout for a graph or for a nice table. Then at this point, honestly, the density, I would probably just go ahead and talk about it in the text. So obviously, you're not just using a graph over here. You're going to have to talk about this in the text. So I'd probably actually use this trendline data that I have over here. I just put this in the text. Show the graphs and then talk about them in the text, which is probably your best bet. Alternatively, plot versus volume information of unknowns A. That's going to be a slope, unknown A. And then I could actually put the trend line information in here. And that might be there. Slope of, and then I go back over here. And you know what? I need that chart just so I can keep things straight. Let's see, axis there. Oh, where's that one? Quick layout, that's what I want. Okay, who's who? Obviously, I just undid everything, which is really annoying. I didn't want to undo everything. Okay, A is 13.5, so slope of 13.5, and then that would be grams per milliliter. And you know what? I could probably just call that density, slope. I forgot my E. So slope of 13.5 grams per milliliter, or just call it density. There, and then and now I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to grab my other ones. So add trend line. I want this one. So that's going to be 11. I don't want to go nuts on the sig figs. Looks like I've got 3 sig figs going on. So 11.3. Back here, add trend line, 7.16. And then over here, last one up. Yeah, once again, this is getting really cluttered. I don't want to do that. I want to format Trendline. Display there. That's going to be 4.47. Yeah, now, of course, all of this I need to talk about in the text. Keep that in mind. But otherwise, this is looking, I'm not a huge fan of this table. I'd like to be able to break these up. And that is going to take me a minute to remember how to get them broken apart. At this point, I'd call this good enough. I wouldn't mind being able to break these bars so that they weren't all touching. That would be nice. But otherwise, this is a reasonable table. Okay, with that said, I guess this is probably going to be the 4 I print out for you all today. I'm just going to leave this in color here, but it should print out okay. If I do a test print and I realize that, actually, that guy's awfully light, that may not print well. Let's see. Yeah, he's probably fine. I may have to change that to a darker color, but otherwise this should be good. So yeah, hope you had fun, and I'll see you in class, or we'll have had seen you in class. Okay, so I was all ready to publish this thing, got the Camtasia editing this thing or rendering it into an MP4 and realized something was off. Here's what's off. So I look at the graph. Notice how there's all this white space. This is just a little too much. So I'm going to click on the axis. I want to go format axis. So if it doesn't pop up, format axis. And what I want to do is I want these axes to go a little bit less far. I don't want all that space. Okay, that's going to clean that up. Not to mention, once again, format axis. I want to get right back where I was. That's actually a few numbers over there. So let's go for, major units of 100 might be good. Yeah, I'd like 200, but since that's a 700, that's going to be a little bit awkward. So let's just go 100. Just leave it where it was. That should be good. And then over here, once again, same basic story. Axis options. There we go. Maximum, I'm not going to go over 50 at any point, so there's no reason to go up to 60. So that's going to just allow me to flush out a little bit more of that space. Also, whether or not you go down to 0, that's always a big debate. You don't have to go at 0. I think in this case, I probably would go down to 0. It's not like I'm wasting a lot of white space, but you do not have to go down to 0. Now, you always want to look at your graph to make sure that they did go to 0, or they didn't go to 0, and just make sure you're aware of where they're at, but you don't have to stop at 0. You can imagine something where, you're looking at, billions, and so you'd have, tons and tons of white space off to one side. You couldn't hardly see your graph because it was all on the tiny little side. Okay, so this is going to clean this up a little bit more. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of this one, but I would need a number that divides nicely into 700. And off the top of my head, I don't think one's going to work great. I guess I could do 350? Yeah, 350 would work. So I could do, what, 350? That's maybe a little bit excessive. I'd like a couple more tick marks. Let's see, what's half of 350? 175? Not one. Let's see if I can type. 175 works. Yeah, that gets that a nice view. It's not quite so cluttered. So yeah, now then, this is a graph I like a little bit better, and you'll notice I fixed the little glitches there after recording. Okay, now I think we're good.